Hello and welcome to episode 95 of Freshly Grounded. We're just 5 episodes away from our 100th episode and we are sold out. We are all sold out. I was mentioning before, I didn't want to get to the point where kind of we're building up the hype for Freshly Grounded 100 and we're telling people that we're about to sell out, and it sounds like we're lying, or it sounds like we're just trying to do it for marketing purposes. We really were selling tickets fast, and that's why I was saying to people, please get your tickets as soon as possible. Alhamdulillah, we've ended up selling out. So we're really looking forward to that event on April 20th, which will be our 100th episode. We've also got additions to the lineups. We've got Josh LaMonica, who is, I think, like statistically, like the best barber in the world, because he won an award last year or 2 years ago in New York, and it was something like Artist of the Year or something. And we've got Omar Chowdhury, my brother. So it's going to be really, really cool. Today's episode of the podcast is going to be with Ebrahim Ettoubi from... Ebrahim Ettoubi is basically one of my co-presenters on Eman Channel. So he's also a presenter. He presents Talk to Me... he sometimes presents Talk to Me with me, but he normally presents Ask Eman, which is a Q&A show with a sheikh, and people call in and they ask questions, and Ebrahim normally hosts that. So we'll get into that and ask him kind of what it's like and the kind of questions that he's heard before. One other aspect that I'm really, really intrigued to speak to Ebrahim about is the idea of charities. Ebrahim works for a charity. He works for a very mainstream charity, and he has a lot of experience in that sector. The Muslim scene is huge. And it's very much so populated with a lot of charities, which is amazing, which is very, very cool. So I want to get his take on some of the stuff. I have some questions that I want to get out to him with regards to mainstream charities probably maybe somewhat becoming loose on their morals, so that they can perhaps raise the most amount of money, and his thoughts on that, and his thoughts on more conservative charities and smaller charities. And firstly, we're going to talk about the awful news that I woke up to this morning, and that we all woke up to this morning, of the shootings that happened in New Zealand. I want to go into that with Ebrahim, so I'll save that for then. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to this episode. I've wanted Ebrahim on here for a very long time. So those who heard the last episode would have heard that I really wanted him on. He's a really, really cool guy. Just one of those people that as soon as you meet him, you really hit it off with him. And that's what happened with us. I really hit it off, and I thought he'd be an amazing person to have on a podcast, just have a chat with. A beautiful, sincere, lovely, loving brother. Someone who's helped me out at times when there was nothing in it for him. And especially with this event with Freshly Grounded 100, so it'll be amazing to hear from him. And guys, before you listen to the episode, I just wanted to let you know about a few little updates or a few little things that I'd love for you guys to stick around for. And first of all, our Patreon page. Guys, we have a Patreon page, which basically means that you can become somewhat of a premium subscriber. Anytime we shoot episodes in advance, you get the episodes out 1 day before everybody else. But on days like today, where we shoot it on a Friday and we put it out on a Friday, obviously you wouldn't get it out any earlier, but you do get the episodes out ad-free. So there's no adverts on the episodes, no intros. And being a Patreon subscriber costs about £5 a month, but it basically allows us not to kind of get private advertising. It allows us to be able to fund ourselves. We're still a very small kind of raw podcast, and yeah, it'll be really cool. So do check that out at patreon.com. That's patreon.com/freshly grounded. Support us. And guys, lastly, Hajj is around the corner, and there's a really, really cool Hajj company known as Qibla Tours, which is run by the person who started Badr Academy, Sheikh Mahmoud. Cool, really, really, really cool guys, and very experienced in the Hajj game. And they've got a package for around £4,600. I think it's slightly more, but it's a very, very cheap Hajj package. You get a 5-star hotel in Medina, which is walking distance from the Haram, and a new build in Mecca, and they really look after you. So do check that out. It's 2019hajj.com. That's 2019hajj.com, or you can go to qiblatours.com. And without any further ado, guys, let's get into episode 95 of Freshly Grounded.
And welcome to Freshly Grounded, the brand new podcast by best friends Faisal and Sam.
Huh?
I said welcome to Freshly Grounded.
No, after that bit.
the brand new podcast
And after that bit?
by best friends Faisal and Sam.
Really?
Okay, bro. So there was a lot of things that I wanted to talk to you about in
Yeah.
this episode and this conversation. One of the big things being charity.
Yeah.
Obviously, naturally, with you having worked in the charity sector for a long time, and also being very much so involved or quite high up on the ladder as it goes in the UK for some mainstream charities. But then kind of all of that subsided this morning when I woke up, and first thing I saw on my phone was like loads of breaking news. It spread around like wildfire on social media and stuff. The shootings that happened in the masjid or the masajid in New Zealand. And so my morning got taken up. I actually thought I was going to run it because my morning got taken up like watching the news and seeing the statements from the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And man, it's so crazy because you become shocked that somebody exists that is so callous that they film themselves as well doing it. But not even that, but just going into anywhere, any place of worship or anywhere in general, and just killing innocent human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
When did you hear about it?
To be honest, when did this happen? Yesterday or today?
Bro, it happened today.
Yeah.
Or
So it
like
happened
3 o'clock
today.
in the morning this morning or something
Yeah,
like
because
that.
I remember my family were talking about it. Actually, yeah, that's it. Because the reason I asked you, because I'm trying to remember when did I actually hear about this. I heard about this this morning. So I woke up and my parents were talking about it, you know, and my dad said to my mom, you know, what happened? And my mom's like, oh, you know, be careful at the mosque and stuff. And I was thinking it happened in the UK. I was pretty surprised. But then I got to know it happened in New Zealand. And I don't know the full details. I haven't read anything online, but I know it's big, you know, online. I think I came across some Facebook stuff and things, but it's just heartbreaking, man. It's heartbreaking for me. On where it hits me most as a humanitarian working in charity, you have to have a strong love for humanity. Yeah, and it has to be a very passionate and sincere love, not one where, you know, you're just trying to force yourself. Maybe at the beginning it begins at forcing yourself for the job, because you have to be sincere about what you feel when you're speaking on behalf of those in need. But for me, it breaks my heart because there's just a great value to life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, if you save one life, it says though you saved all of humanity. And it shows the value of life in the sight of Allah. That one life is very, very valuable. It's as valuable as the rest of humanity. And when you have that care and that love for life and you see someone taking it so easily and so readily, it's really heartbreaking because the crime they're committing is enormous. You know, like on mankind's level or from mankind's perspective, yes, death and murder is a big deal, but it's another level completely in the sight of Allah. It's a major crime, bro. I mean, Allah gives life, and you feel you have the right to take it. For me, that's where it starts. So that's where it becomes that is heartbreaking. But then the sad part is that, you know, the targeting of the Muslim communities, and particularly in a place of worship like the mosques, you know, we're living in tough times, man, and it takes a lot of resilience. It takes a lot of positive energy, enthusiasm to be able to survive in a world like this. Otherwise, you get overcome with, you know, us and them attitude, overcome with feeling like you're, the inferiority kicks in. Muslims are under scrutiny. Muslims are under like negative light, negative attention, and then you find lack of support in the media as well. That, you know, Muslim lives are being taken, but sometimes it's not highlighted, or the importance isn't given so much because there's so much negativity around it as well.
Yeah, well, when the Prime Minister was being questioned this morning on her briefing, she was asked by one of the media that, do you think that we don't shed enough light on extremism in general? And, you know, she said, rightly so, she said, you know, our aim is to focus on extremism in general. And no matter what kind of race or religion, the extremist ideology in general is what we focus on combating, which I think is, you know, is good to hear. You know, I mean, in general, bro, like there's no place in our world for extremism. End of story. Yeah. And it's so. I was one of those people. I was one of the people who saw the video.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't recommend anyone to do that. Yeah. And I know that there's brothers online who are saying some students of knowledge have actually started posting online saying, don't share the video, whatever you do, don't watch the video, because what's happened is this guy's basically live streamed it on Facebook, him doing it. It looks like Call of Duty, bro. And they've said don't share it because that's what the perpetrators want, right? And it's, when you read it online, it's difficult to comprehend and understand, and it hurts a lot, and it breaks your heart. But bro, watching it is a different level, bro. Like, you want to cry so much when you see innocent people fleeing for their lives, bro. Literally fleeing.
Yeah.
And it was so callous, bro. Like I said, the only thing you can describe it as, bro, is it literally looks like a computer game. It looks like Call of Duty.
It's heartbreaking.
And it makes you question, like, people who play those kind of games.
Yeah.
What impact that has, I don't know, because I've never been into like first-person shooters and stuff. I've not really been into gaming too much in general, but it just opens your eyes up to a lot of stuff. It really gives you shivers, and I think anyone in the world, like everyone is just saying the same thing on social media, on WhatsApp, or how heartbreaking it is. We can't sit here and say anything that hasn't been said already. Yeah, but it feels wrong to like ignore it because it's such a big thing that just happened, and I wouldn't be able to continue with this episode and speak to you about everything else without, I suppose, speaking to you about my thoughts on this. You're the first person I've really spoken to about it.
Yeah.
Well, because you're basically the first person I've seen this morning other than Nate. So,
how was that, bro? I was the first person to see this morning. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Amazing, bro.
Just
Your beautiful face, Allahumma barik. It was lovely to see you.
Mela ruled you. You too, bro. Same, bro.
But yeah, look, we have to look at the overall goal that we have with Freshly Grounded, and the overall goal that we have with Freshly Grounded is that we are trying to impact people positively, and we are trying to do our little bit in making the world a better place, and we know that that Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change the condition of themselves.
Yes.
And so we try and do our small bit in providing this content weekly that can maybe do some little bit in helping people think and maybe making a change in their life that can potentially, one person changing their life can impact another person changing their life and maybe start a domino effect. So in that, I would love to continue with this episode, inshallah, and speak to you about things that I had generally wanted to talk to you about. I don't know where to start, really. Alhamdulillah, I mentioned in the intro that you are very much so in kind of the limelight of being in the humanitarian sector. You're working right now with a huge charity. First of all, how is that? What's that like on the inside? Because we see that a lot in the Muslim community. There's a lot of people working in charities. There's a lot of charities about. Do you find that it's a good thing that there's those charities? Do you think that it could be negative because everybody is doing a charity, so it's hard to know kind of what's correct?
Yeah. So working for a charity, bro, especially one of the biggest Muslim charities in the sector, it's a very fulfilling experience. You come to realize that a charity doesn't get to that size and doesn't grow to be that brand or that name without years of hard work and without a lot of trial and error and without doing things the right way to get to where you are. And I think it takes expertise, it takes professionalism, and it takes sincerity to get to that level. For me personally, it's a very fulfilling experience to be able to serve mankind, to serve humanity, and to be able to be in a position to do that at a large scale. Because, working for a big charity also, the size of it means that it can reach more people. It can be more effective with its projects, and it can be more professional in the way it executes them. That's a professional way of saying they're able to deliver the food parcel to the hands of those that need it. They're able to get a doctor trained or a doctor funded to be able to deliver the surgery to save someone's life at a scale and effectively as well. So to know that I'm part of making humanity a better place by anyhow, whether helping it in terms of saving a life or just being able to provide a family with the means of survival for the next 6 months or 1 year in terms of food while they're already going through disasters and suffering around them is a big deal. When it comes to the charity in particular itself, it's a very fulfilling experience. I think anyone wouldn't, no one, I think the factors, sorry to rephrase that, the factors of enjoying what you do doesn't just come down to what you do, but also the people that work around you. And I found it a very fulfilling experience of people that are professional, sincere, people that are looking to get to the next level, personally and as a charity collectively, both as people and both as the work that we deliver. And I found that there's just less of the bad stuff, I would say, that may be there in maybe other places. Yeah.
Do you think that there's a lot of internal politics within the charity sector that doesn't need to exist?
Yeah, I think
like, for example, charities competing with each other.
Yeah.
Does that exist?
That exists big time. Yeah, that exists big time. I think in the world we live in, particularly when it comes to Islam, where we're meant to be all united, I think our biggest challenge is the unity part.
Yeah.
I think
from an outsider perspective,
yeah,
it sucks a bit seeing that because it's like everyone is here to serve a purpose, or every charity is doing something great, and you can feel the vibe of there being some friction between charities.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, I mean the challenge is there in terms of unity, and there is competition. The competition I've faced is more positive than negative. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran tells us, and race to a mercy of your Lord and a paradise. So there is an element in our religion and our creed where we should race and compete with each other in goodness.
Yeah.
So there is that big time. A charity sees another charity doing an event to a certain size, it aspires to that, and it wants to do that as well. Out of goodness. There is, I think you're going to find everywhere the negative parts of it. There is politics. There is maybe bad feelings sometimes. But I think that's human nature, and we're going to find that everywhere. And at least I think as Muslims, we can find ways through the Sunnah to just combat that, and work and strive towards unity.
Do you think that it's upon us as individual Muslims to kind of look at people and assume the best, like we've been told to do, and to have good thoughts of one another, rather than perhaps saying, oh, this charity... I remember when I first started practicing, a big question that people used to ask people, I used to hear a lot is this 100% donation only?
Yeah.
Right? And so I started asking that question. When charities used to, maybe I had interaction with charities, I used to say, is this 100% donation only?
Yeah.
And then someone once said to me, bro, why are you asking that question? And for me, or something of the like, and for me, it was more so because people had asked that question.
Yeah.
And so it seems to make sense. If this charity is not 100% donation only, then they must be doing something wrong, right?
Yeah.
That was in my head. And they said, well, first of all, for a charity to actually run, and for them to employ staff, and for them to so that everybody can eat, and for them to be able to have an office, etc., they need finances, and therefore to have finances, they need to be able to have that income, right? And then I said, well, then how do charities do it who are 100% donation only? And they were explaining to me that there's certain charities that they know of. I don't know about all charities. Again, I'm not inside the charities sector like yourself. And they mentioned to me that there's some charities who are funded by some larger organizations, which allow them to then, their salaries are paid in that way, for example. Because and that's how it works. So for other charities, for them to be able to maintain themselves, they do have to take that from donations. And they also mentioned that for the most part, charities who take salaries, etc., or admin costs, or from donations, they allow the donor to specify where they want their donation to go. So if, for example, they specify they want it to go to a specific appeal, 100% of that will go to the appeal. So what is your thoughts on that kind of ideology? You must have a lot of people saying, are you guys 100% donation? Why not? And therefore it must be corrupted.
Yeah. I personally, I know about this. I know about this. I don't know whether to call it a culture or kind of an approach or an attitude towards this policy. But to be honest, I faced it less working for a big charity, because I think maybe a big charity has just built its brand very well, built the trust with the people in the community very well. So it's faced with less of these questions, in my opinion, maybe. Just before we move on, because I know we're speaking about charity a lot, and since I work for a charity in the Muslim sector, I need to just clarify that what I'm speaking about are my opinions only, my thoughts only, and they're not representing the charity or any charity at all. This is just me as a humanitarian, kind of giving my opinion, my take on what I'm coming across.
Sure.
So I'll just kind of go like right at it, at the kind of just the topic that we're dealing with, and I'll speak about things around it. But first and foremost, the 100% donation policy attitude has created a lot of negativity, and it's created a bad attitude towards giving in charity. It's encouraged and promoted an approach that is, if you're not 100% donation policy, then you're doing something wrong,
right?
Or you're taking people's money, or somehow there should be mistrust there, or there's just a very, very bad vibe around it, which is very wrong, because there's charities working really hard, and there's charities putting all their expertise and their effort and large amounts of money in executing their work in the most professional way that they can, and they spend extra money to make sure they do that in the right way. And the negativity that comes out of the 100% donation policy around the charities that don't have that policy, they get affected by it.
Yeah.
And the work of charity is good work, and it should only be looked at in the most positive light. Like we can see the attitudes of, I would say, non-Muslims. The attitudes when it comes to charity is a very pure and very positive one. Yeah. And I think sometimes we forget that, but I think also it's just such an intrinsic part of our Islam to give in charity. It's promoted in the Quran, it's promoted in the Sunnah. Sadaqah is such a big deal, zakat is such a big deal. So I think it also comes from an element of care, that you want your money going to the right place and handled in the right way. So when it comes to the 100% donation policy, zakat itself, in the Quran, Allah gives us a breakdown in terms of how it should be distributed, or the different areas it should go towards. And one of those areas is to spend on those who are part of the organization of the zakat, the part of the delivery of zakat. They should be allowed 1/8 of the zakat itself. It's a verse in the Quran. So the Islamic attitude itself when it comes to charity is one that understands and encourages that there should be money spent from the donations to be able to deliver it effectively. If you're not being organized and you're not doing it as an organization in a structured way, how are you going to grow? It's like a business.
Yeah.
How are you going to grow? How are you going to reach more people? And how are you going to do it more effectively? An amount has to be spent to do that. And I respect and appreciate there are charities out there that have large amounts of supporters and donors that are helping sustain the charity itself in terms of its costs. But I think at the same time, shining a negative light on charities that don't have 100% donation policy is just a very, very wrong approach and a very, very wrong attitude. You can get it clarified in terms of parts that I said, that sadaqah should be spent from, in terms of the part from the charity, whether it should be spent in an organized way, or if that's specific to zakats and stuff. But my point is that we just need to stop shining a negative light on other charities and promoting this 100% donation policy too much and to such a level immediately just kind of paints in a bad way the rest of the charities that don't have the policy.
Would you suggest that the best kind of practice for a person or a regular person like myself is to spread your sadaqah between different projects and different charities, so that we can kind of like at different times focus on what we think is important?
Yeah, I think it's down to the individual, bro. I think there are people that are very giving with their wealth. There are people that are very giving with their time. There's people are giving in different ways. And if you're a person that Allah's blessed, that you're able to give, I think, yeah, it's good. I mean, spread your money out amongst different projects. Sometimes maybe an individual is very passionate about one project. Maybe they like, giving to orphans a lot because they just have a love for orphans, they have a care for orphans, and they just want to see orphans grow and thrive and have that kind of empty space of a mother or empty space of a father filled. So they're very passionate about doing that for the orphan. There's people that are really into education, you know, they want to see societies better educated, you know, countries developing stronger and better through their future generations that are coming up. So there's people that are into the da'wah, you know, they're passionate about seeing the da'wah delivered in the right way, the da'wah kind of packaged in the right way. So they want to promote that, they want to give to that. So I think it's about just giving to where best fits you. So it's down to the individual. You know, I promote giving to, you know, spreading your money out, your donations and everything to different places and different projects. But at the same time, if you're very passionate about one in particular, you should just, you know, put your money there and your energy there to maybe help it grow more effectively and in the best way.
Agreed. I got another maybe tough question.
Yeah, bro.
And I actually hate Freshly Grounded being like a question answer.
No, that's good.
I prefer just having a conversation. But I don't often have someone who I have like just a pure conversation with, which is the beauty of Freshly Grounded.
Bro.
You can look across the table to someone and just have a conversation.
Yeah, let's do it.
Especially someone in the charity sector and someone who, like you said, works, you know, for probably one of the largest, or if not the largest one. Okay, so my question is, do you think that charities or people within charities can sometimes use people's sincerity, like the volunteers, etc., and capitalize off it by perhaps overworking them or perhaps getting too much from them because they know that person is willing to do so for the sake of Allah. Do you understand the question?
I understand the question very well, bro.
Okay, cool.
Very well. You know, I really appreciate these questions, bro.
No problem.
You're forcing me to be as politically correct as I can, as much as I can.
Well, Freshly Grounded is not politically correct, so go ahead.
You're challenging me. Jazakallah khair. Okay, so
after this, we'll talk about the
No. Let's talk, man. I'm here, man. I like being real, and you know, before maybe I answer any question, you know, I think it's important to just repeat and keep repeating that charity is a positive thing.
Yeah,
and charity is a good thing. And we should always remember that in whenever we're talking about charity, wherever kind of, you know, it's good to be critical about every single area. You know, we're not gonna grow in the right way, and we're not gonna handle and deal with things in the best way if we're not critical. You know, even with the people I work with, I take an approach where I always say anything I put on the table, I want it to be challenged. Anything anyone else puts on the table, it has to be challenged. Because if we don't challenge them, how are we gonna find the right approach of working or come down to the right thing that we're trying to do? So I think through challenging ideas and through questioning them and critique, you polish the diamond or however you may put it, and you kind of find the true and the purest meaning of something to move forward with it. Okay, so you touched on an area that I'm very passionate about, and probably one of the things that keeps me in charity work are the volunteers. Everything else can get very maybe systematic. Everything else can get very process driven, because in the end you have to be professional about what we do. We have to be professional about how we handle our projects, our work in the community, the way we communicate, the way we go about organizing our events and activities. But volunteering is one of those areas that really touches my heart, because I'm someone who's in the charity sector and I'm being paid to do what I do. And you have people that are giving their time purely from their heart to help humanity and to help those that are in need. And for me, that's a big deal. And that's something that should be valued. You know, time, you can't replace it with anything, and you can't pay for it. You can't pay for time. And people give that. So it's something I hold very dear to my heart, and I have the biggest and utmost respect for people out there that are volunteering for charities, giving their time. I've had experiences where there's people that leave work, a full day of work, and come to volunteer the remainder of their hours at events or at projects to help those that are in need. And it's a big deal, and it's something to be valued. Does it get abused? 100%. I think like anything when it comes to giving, it's open to abuse, and it's open to mishandling by some people. And I think that comes down to a lack of a well-grounded intention or approach to what we do. And I'm just being very real about it. If you're someone who's sincerely working and driven towards helping those that are in need across the world, people that are dying, people that are suffering, and you're speaking and you're working with an approach that this is the most important thing, and saving lives and caring about lives and the state of humanity is a very important thing. I think if there's that sincerity in your approach, in your heart, and in your work, then that care is going to be translated to humanity, whether it's far from you or close to you. And in the end, people that are giving their times are human beings, and they're giving their effort and their heart, and they're giving everything. That care is going to be there for them as well, to want the best for them, to respect them, to value them as human beings, to value their time, and with that, to value their growth, to value their feelings. And that's something that needs to be respected. And I think if there's anyone out there who's treating volunteers as though they're people that can just be called quickly to do this quickly for me, or spend a large amount of hours quickly for me, and remind them that this is just for the sake of Allah and that's all you're giving them, I don't think that that's really called giving back. Because I say, leave Allah's part to Allah. Allah is rewarding them, Allah is giving them. Remind people, but it's not your part. You're not giving them anything by reminding them. It's a reminder and that's all. So do your part in giving back. Give thanks back, give gifts back, give appreciation back and time back. I would say one of the biggest things you can help people with that goes beyond money or gifts is helping them grow as an individual. And I think, especially in volunteers, you see people that are very young coming into the sector. They're students, they're young people, they have a lot of passion, they have a lot of drive. They give a lot of their time, they give the best of themselves. And that's one of the things I love most, is that people come to charity and they give the best of themselves. I think these people in particular, as someone who's older than them and more experienced than them, you can see a lot of space in them that you can see is open for growth. You can see potential for. And I think to take those people and just guide them and coach them and give them some direction in their life can go a long way, because you'll always appreciate and remember where they helped you in achieving some goals for the charity and helping humanity. And they'll always have that moment in their life where they remembered someone was there who guided them, helped them grow, and helped them become the best themselves as well. Because across the world, we're helping humanity. Maybe we're helping a family that's starving have food for the day or have food for the month. Maybe we're helping someone who's dying have the necessary things that they need to save their life. Those are a response to their needs. Now, the needs of these people that are in front of you, giving their time freely, giving themselves freely, what can their needs be? In the society we live in, mostly our needs are to do with personal growth, whether it be mental, emotional, and a lot of young people need that support. So I think to provide them with that, it's the same thing you're giving. You're responding to a human being's need. This human being across the world is different, and this human being in front of you is different. And I think that if sincerely in your heart you can care and you can cry about someone you've never met and you've never seen, and they're across the world suffering, that care and that love and care for humanity would be more immediate and more present when someone's immediately in front of you, showing that they have needs and they're a person right in front of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just translated in a different way. It's actually harder to care for someone across the world that you've never met and seen, right? Than Faisal right in front of me, who you're a human being. I love you. I see you. I want what's good for you. It's easier. So I think when it comes to, just to sum it up, when it comes to the mishandling of volunteers, or maybe in the best way possible to speak about it, because I think everyone in the charity sector is there to do good and is there to do good work with good intentions. I don't doubt that. Otherwise, you won't be in the charity sector.
Agreed.
So I would label it as more a lack of appreciation, or not the right amount of appreciation you give to volunteers. So maybe somehow unknowingly that might translate into let me change the word abuse, because today's terminologies, it means different things. So maybe it translates into not treating them the best way. Right. Let's put it at that.
Yep.
Then I think it may come from where do you stand in terms of your care for humanity in your heart and in your intentions? Because I think if that's in the right place, it's going to translate to all of humanity, wherever that may be.
What kind of stuff do you do that to show appreciation to the volunteers or to give back? What's important to you?
Okay, so what's important to me is very simple. Is just treating them like human beings,
Yep.
and then I have to explain what does that mean to me. Treating someone like a human being, you know, treating someone like a human being. I think it's grounded first and foremost in what we said at the beginning when we spoke about the shootings and the bad things we were talking about happened at the mosque in New Zealand, right?
Yep.
I think it comes down to the value you give to a life. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says that to save one life is as if you've saved all of humanity. And I really live by that, because when it comes to a person who's in their deathbed or someone who's seriously injured or critically in need, we understand that there is a value to that life. But I think it's good to understand that wholesomely, just in context of a human being, that individual has a right to be dignified, has a right to be respected, and has a right to give for their life and themselves to be given the greatest value. Like you, Faisal, sitting in front of me, if Allah has great love for you as His creation, and Allah values you to such an immense level that your life is equal to all of humanity's life, then I should treat you that way, and I should value you that way, and I should see you that way. So, having said that, I think that's where it begins and that's where it starts. And I think if you have that in the right place and it's sincerely in your heart, it's going to translate into how you treat people. Now, if someone comes, I call them to help me as a charity worker in raising money for those that are in need. And those across the world that are either being oppressed, either are hungry, either are in need of emergency aid, whether medical aid, and so on and so forth, education, then if you've given me that time out of your time that you could spend somewhere else, and you've invested your heart into it sincerely, then the only thing that's due back from me is to give you the same sincerity back, the same value back, and the same love back that you put in. And that's where it starts. And I think if you do that, it can translate into many things. And I think a simple thank you in the right way and sincerely, the subconscious mind picks it up and the heart picks it up. And if someone truly feels gratitude from you, I think that's one of the things that can go the longest way. And if you're someone who's more generous, then you're going to make an extra effort. To me, it translates in seeing people's real needs that are needs of growing, needs of understanding themselves maybe a bit better, needs of coaching in some areas professionally or personally. And I would give that. And I would give that advice where there's a place for it and where people are open to receive that. Otherwise, I think gratitude just goes a long way. Respect and dignity. And I emphasize the word dignity goes a long way. To treat someone like they're dignified, that they have dignity and that they're deserving of the utmost respect and appreciation, I think is very important, because then that's going to translate into how much time you're asking them for. How much effort beyond them being tired are you pushing them towards? And when people see that, you know what, they respect me, this person actually cares about my well-being, they'll probably give more.
Do you think that idea of treating someone like a dignified human being also comes down to you knowing that person could be better than you, right? And not having arrogance and thinking, oh, I'm better than this person, therefore I will treat them in a way that they quote unquote deserve, right? Because I deserve better. And because I feel like as a people, we do have this like epidemic of promoting ourselves naturally, because of the way social media is going, the way business is going. We've got this ability to make so much money and so much we have our voices heard, and all we have to do to have our voices heard is to promote ourselves in the best light possible. But in doing that, we're also trying to show people that we are quote unquote superhuman, right? We're better than other people, that's why you should follow me, right? Listen to my voice. And in doing that, we lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that perhaps we're better than other people, or we say that, or perhaps we tell ourselves that our shortcomings are not as bad as other people's shortcomings, right? But what I found is that when you meet real sincere people, like really sincere people who are extremely talented or extremely knowledgeable, yet they're so sincere, you notice that they will do everything they can to convince you that you are better than them. They actually flip it. They're not trying to. What's so normal to us now is people trying to convince you. Like, what's normal is me trying to convince you that I'm better than you. In some way. I have this, I have that. We do this here, we do that here, etc. But when you find real sincere people who are very knowledgeable, who are very talented, but they're extremely sincere, their narrative is actually, bro, everything I'm doing is just on surface level what you're seeing, but really you're a lot better than me. And that also comes into kind of, even with volunteers, the idea that this person is choosing to give their time, fi sabilillah, you know, we don't know. We see they're good on them, and we should assume that everything about them is good, and we should maybe knock ourselves down a few pegs. And I'm very conscious of also the idea of us. We should be able to promote positive affirmations. We should be able to promote positive mental health. It's very, very important. But let's not kid ourselves and promote our positive affirmations so much so that we forget to knock ourselves down as well. Because I think that knocking myself down has been the key that to sometimes, and having people around me who knock me down, key to being able to remember that I'm not the best person in any format, and there's always people better than me in every single way. I think it's very important.
I agree. And you know, just before I talk about the earlier part, I'll talk about the later part of what you said about having people around you that knock you down. And I think, you know, I've been growing in appreciation of just how it's important to just be real. You know, we live in a time where we, you know, whether it be social media or however the most cliche way to go about saying it, we just live in a time where you are made to feel so bad, you know, not by any particular individual, just society or what the world is becoming right now. Whether it's, you know, it's not down to anyone, it's just what the world is becoming right now, or what media is kind of, you know, pushing us towards. It's becoming a world that it makes you feel so bad about your shortcomings, makes you feel so bad about what you can't do and what you're not good at. And for that reason, I think we start to become people that just want to show the best version of themselves, to the point that we want to come across as perfect, whether it be in our pictures on social media, and I think that's the most easy. And just to kind of branch off a little bit, I think that's one of the easiest ways to build yourself as the most perfect image.
Social media,
the outside image.
Sure.
So taking pictures, presenting yourself for the camera.
Sure.
That's one of the easiest and quickest way to go about making yourself look better and look well-rounded and looking maybe looking a bit perfect.
Sorry, bro.
No worries. Is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So, for example, I'll give you a quick example. Yeah. You can quickly jump to the barbershop and have a haircut, and straight away you look a bit better.
Yeah.
You know, in 2 to 3 weeks to 2 months, you can go to the gym and you can start looking like fresh and in shape and better. You know, and then I think we've become a world that's so much focused on what we can achieve immediately that you completely forget about the inside. You completely forget about your character and your heart and your dealings with people and your mental state and what actually really gives you value as a human being. You know, it's incredible that we're so focused on things that are on the outside that we can take zero credit for. This is Allah's creation.
SubhanAllah.
We can take zero credit for what's on the outside, but we take that so much as what gives us value that it's so shallow. Like, I'm not saying shallow in a judgmental level that, oh, you're so shallow as an individual that you do that. It's just our standards to who we are and what gives us value is so shallow because we take credit in what has nothing to do with us. You have nothing to do with your outside image. You improving it over a haircut or over going to the gym or over putting makeup on is really nothing. You know, it's you're building on a 0.000% of what Allah has already made so perfect and so present. So I think, coming back to your point, you need people that are putting you down. And when I mean putting you down, giving you a reality check.
Check.
And you need more people around you that do that, because I've grown such an appreciation for how much it's helped me with my personal growth. First of all, you have to be strong enough and have the will to receive it. But people that have helped me with my personal growth most have been those that have been the realest to me, that have told me things that I'm not ready to hear.
Do they tend to be like family members or friends?
They can be anyone. You just have to find those people that are really ready to be like, you know what, Faisal or Ebrahim, this is how you're acting like, and you're just being ignorant right now and you don't want to see it. And you just have to sit there and accept that, because you know what? Even to a conscious level, sometimes if you get defensive and you're like, no, and you get offended, you know, the subconscious always picks up the truth. And it's going to linger there, and it's going to touch on a few nerves, and it's going to influence some behavior, and it's going to help you grow on some level, even if it's a subconscious level. Because consciously we have our emotions present, and we have our kind of ego and pride and our outside self present. You know, the subconscious is a logical place, and it's a part of the mind that receives information and processes it. And if there's truth in that information, it's going to get processed. You know, like an example comes to me from the Quran where Ebrahim alayhi salam, destroyed the statues, and then his people came and they're like, who did this? You know, and fast forward, Ebrahim said to them, he gave them justification that how could you be worshipping these things? They don't eat, they don't reply back. And Allah said, these people went back into themselves, and something happened internally that made them consider and think, even for a slight moment, that wow, this makes sense. But their ego and their not their ignorance, their ego and their pride overcame them, and they acted upon what they were just thinking. You know, there is that part of the subconscious that just receives things, and I think it's just important. Sorry, I stray a bit, but it's just important to be real. And I think, you know, one of the most valuable things you can give to people is, with a layer of me saying, value people as human beings, give them dignity. Now, once you can give that value and you can add a layer of reality to people, I think it can be received well. Because in the end, when people feel like this person sincerely cares about me and loves me and looks genuine in what they're saying to me, so that truth penetrates deeper. Yeah. And it's received even better. Even if it's something that, if you didn't kind of give, if you didn't show that love and appreciation and you just hit them with it, they could probably be seriously offended. But if you're that person that they genuinely feel, actually, this person seems to be a genuine person that cares, and you give them something that can feel a bit sharp and a bit heavy, people receive it and they appreciate it, and it goes a long way. They respect you for it.
I agree.
So I think I touched on 1% of what you just said, bro.
No, bro, you expanded on it. You said it, you articulated it in a way that's much better than I could.
No way, bro.
You're
better than me. That's what you spoke about. Yeah.
Bro, you're a man who is a bit of a jack of all trades, in the sense that you don't just do the whole charity thing. You also are a presenter also on Eman Channel.
With you?
With myself, yeah.
With you?
And sometimes we're blessed enough to do a show together, every now and again, once in a blue moon. They're the best shows, aren't they?
They're actually hard to do, because we end up having so much fun, we forget that we're meant to be on camera.
Exactly, and we're live on camera as well at the same time. There's been times I have to just throw it to you because I'm about to burst out laughing.
Yeah. Those are the funny times, bro. Oh, mashallah. I missed the last one. I'll probably try and join you for the next one, man.
Yeah, inshallah. Well, you know, I think I've been like upgraded at Eman Channel now, because I've been given my own earpiece. Have you?
Oh wow. Yeah. I think they upgraded everyone now. I think everyone's got. No. Faisal is I've got it
on me now.
It's just. If they gave it to you, you've been upgraded.
No, I haven't. What happened is, so they gave me an earpiece the other day, because normally I don't know if they commute or whatever, but they gave me a new earpiece, and then when they were like taking my mic and my talk back off, they said, "Oh, where's your earpiece?" And I was like, "I don't know, I took it off." And then they were like all like looking for it around the floor, and they're like, "No, we have to find it, because now every presenter has their own individual earpiece that goes in their own box, and it's labelled so that we don't like mix earpieces." Which I was like, that's very good and important.
I feel great. Yeah.
I mean, obviously before they were still very, very hygienic. Like, I'm not saying anything. They would obviously like thoroughly clean, etc. However, if I could have my own earpiece, yes, I would love that. Thank you very much. So anyway, I was like, oh no, like that. He goes, oh no, it's really important because that was your own earpiece. I was like, oh no, it's my first own earpiece. I've lost it.
Yeah.
And so they were like, it's all right, look, it's like 10, it was by then it was like 10:30 at night. They were like, we'll try and find it tomorrow, it's fine, don't worry about it. And then I went home and I found it. It was like, it got stuck in my clothes or something.
Yeah.
And so now I put it in a little box and it's in my bag. So I'm gonna take it back
that's
to
why
Wednesday.
you have your own earpiece with you. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I heard they done that recently. You know, may Allah bless them. It's very hygienic.
Yeah.
I won't say some of the experiences I had when we used to have shared ones, but you know, that's, I'll tell you that off air,
so.
off the record.
I think so. I wanted to go into Eman Channel a bit, but before we do,
love that place.
yeah. Before we do though, I wanted to talk a bit about the event that you got going on. So you're helping out with an event called Revelation.
Yeah.
And what is it about? Tell me about it.
Okay,
Because all I see is a poster with so many faces.
Yeah. It's like a super conference, man. So yeah, I mean, I try and get my hands into as many things as I can where I think I can bring value to. Revelation is a very special project because what I consider special comes from the foundation of what it was built on, and I believe that foundation is at its core the intention you started something with. You know, I've heard of some organizations and some projects that have grown to be so amazing, so huge, and of so much value. And sometimes I wondered, and you know, I look at this brand or I look at this organization, and I think, wow, what's special about this organization? And I've always kind of had a critical mind where I want to know deeper, and I want to see beyond the layers that are apparent. So I just always have a keen desire to understand things. And from that comes being very, not critical in a negative way, but critical in a way of wanting to understand. Sorry that I go a bit deep into things. Is that okay?
Bro, this is a podcast.
Is that okay? All right, bro. All right.
You have all the time.
Because like my answer goes like, Ebrahim, what are you talking about?
No,
that was not the question.
No.
Okay, so
I say we go all the time as well, but subhanAllah, time goes so fast. We have about we have time.
We have some time.
Yeah. Inshallah, we have Jum'ah today, so we have to be very extra conscious of time.
Yeah, we do. So
please
yeah,
continue.
so I have always looked at things. I'm like, wow, how's that brand so big, or what makes it so special, or what did it grow to be so great, or people say so many good things about it. And I've come to know, of course, we can't explain why everything becomes so big or grows to such a huge level, like the biggest brands in the world. I'm not speaking about those. You know, Allah has His plan for everything. But there are certain organizations, projects where I've seen them and I'm like, wow, they've become so big off the back of just volunteers or off the back of people that have just wanted to do good. And I believe that some things grow because of the core of the foundation. And that's something that begins at a level before doing anything. And that's the intention. And why I find Revelation such a special project, not because of the size of it. I mean, it's the second conference. It's the second year the conference is going on right now. It's not probably done to the best way I would like it to be done to, or have all the elements I want it to have, or whatever. You know.
How many people came to the first one?
The first one about 550 people.
Okay.
So you know,
that's good.
It's decent, and the plan was to help it grow. But what it's really about is. The conference started with an intention, with me and someone else, with an intention of allowing people to experience the Quran. So not to learn it, not to hear it, not to try and kind of understand it, even those are all elements when it comes to experiencing it, but truly experiencing it as revelation, seeing the different, hearing the different modes of recitation. Having reciters that are able to deliver to a high standard of recitation, people that are masters at what they do. You know, you get a master's degree when you go to uni.
Yep.
These are people that are the masters when it comes to Quran. You know, they've studied it, they've learnt it, and when it comes to reciting it, they're the best that you can get when it comes to that in the country. So the intention was that people come and they hear a mixture of recitation alongside reminders and talks that are relevant to those ayats that are being recited. And it's a conference fully dedicated to the Quran, but even better than that, dedicated to helping you experience the Quran.
That sounds amazing.
That was the intention, yeah. So I hope it was delivered, because I think at the first one there was a lot of great feedback, because there were, you know, we tried to do some crazy logistics in the conference as well. Like things that don't happen in a one-day conference where we had Quran and recitation and topics being covered, and then it's right bang in the middle, there's 4 workshops happening at the same time, some to do with articulation, some to do with the alphabet, and then come back quickly to continue the conference over just one day.
It's a one-day conference?
Yeah.
Okay.
We pulled it off last year. It went really well. This year we're trying to pull it off again, but I think
When is the conference?
coming on the 23rd of March, like in 9 days, 8 days.
Oh, subhanAllah, it's next week.
Yeah, and I appreciate you giving the platform, bro, for it to be promoted, because it's a good place to go. I think, you know, it's good to have, if you're someone who goes to events, attends conferences, it's good to have variety in terms of what you expose yourself to. You have an amazing project going on, your 100th episode, and I think you're doing a great work in terms of appealing to a particular audience, showing that Islam is relevant to all age groups and all times. And I think that's kind of, you know, our generation's responsibility is to carry the torch from where it's been given to us and shown that, you know, Islam has a place in you as a human being, and it's relevant to your entire life, and it's relevant to all age groups and all times. And I think now it's a time where it's our time to take the torch, understand our environment and understand our time, and just show everyone that Islam brings value to your life and adds value to your life. It doesn't actually take anything away from you.
Agreed.
It actually makes you a better person, more focused, with more direction and understanding, not just where you want to go in this life, where it's like a mere 50, 60 years if you get to live that, but you have direction and focus in terms of where you can go even beyond that. You know, like these are things you just hear in films, you know, and you hear in motivational talks or whatever, where it's like, become the best you, go as far as you can. I'll tell you the truth about going as far as you can. The real dream is going beyond this life.
So I was being rude. I was trying to find.
No worries.
I was trying to find the poster. I can't find the poster for it.
The poster. Or what, on your phone?
For Revelation.
How dare you not have it on your phone, bro?
Where is it?
I'm joking. Okay, this is a good plug, bro. Good opportunity for a plug. I think you set me up there.
Okay.
So you can go on on Facebook, search Explore Conference UK.
What about Instagram?
You can go on Instagram, search Explore Conference UK. We're not very big on Instagram. You can also go on Ramadan Reminders, who are our promotion partner, that are helping us promote the conference as well. You'll find it there in the stories. You'll find it there on the profile, the feed, and so on. So it's you know, we also, this is something I acknowledge and something we need to do for next year, but we need to add variety in terms of gender to the conference. So really, this
SubhanAllah, Sheikh Musa, his recitation is insane.
Yeah. What's up?
Allah
I love that Sheikh, man. You know, he's not just a Sheikh; he's a good friend as well.
You got some big names: Sheikh Wasim Kabsan, Sheikh Jamal, Sheikh Musa, Sheikh Asim Khan, Omar Hajjaj, Ustad. Subhanallah.
Have you had Omar on your podcast before?
No, but we had the conversation, but my fault. We didn't end up expanding the conversation.
Yeah, get on.
It's tough. It's tough to get everyone on. But I plan to, inshallah. Bro, forgive me. I was being extremely rude, but I was looking for the poster for the Revelation. Where can people buy the tickets for that?
Tickets, you can get them at bit.ly
I see.
/Quran Conference 2, which is bit.ly /Quran Conference 2.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Bro, so before that, you were mentioning people taking themselves to their full potential, and these conferences where they say, you know, go as far as you can go, and then you were saying you're kind of expanding on how far it is that we can go.
The afterlife, bro, is as far as you can go.
Sure.
You know, one of the, you know, as a human being, in my opinion, you're never going to actually fulfill your full potential if you don't understand where the beginning of your life is and where the end of your life is. And if you think that the beginning of your life was 1990, like the year I was born, I'm talking about myself, and the end of your life is 30 years, 40 years, 50, 60 years, and you've taken that as that's the capacity of your life and that's what you contextualize your life as, then your passions, dreams and aspirations are going to be limited to what you're thinking, to exactly that. So what are you going to look at? You're going to look at the world you live in right now, and you're going to look at the peak of it and the height of it, and you're going to be like, I want to get there. And it's completely fine. As human beings, we're tuned towards striving towards excellence. We came from Jannah. Some scholars say that this is where the element of perfection comes from us, because we know perfection, we understand perfection. We saw it, you know, in Jannah. or we understand it at least, because there was a life before this one where we stood in front of Allah, where we took an oath in front of Allah that He's our Lord. If people are hearing this for the first time, then I encourage you, just go back to the Quran. You'll find this is not something like I'm going into some crazy other philosophies and stuff. This is in the Quran, it's in the Sunnah, fully intact. So the end of our life, our life goes on forever, and the cars and the houses, and if you're a person who's into that stuff and you see that as success, then that's the peak and the heights of this world. If admiration and people's respect and people being in awe of you, respecting you, holding you to a high status, giving you titles, then the kings and the most famous people of this world are what that is, and that's what you're going to aspire towards. But then there's people that are humanitarians and they just want to see humanity in a better place. Then you're going to aspire to the best ends of that. But I think something that takes you as a person to the next level, gives you access to your full capacity, is understanding that the best and greatest success lies in the hereafter. And the best gain that you can ever attain, which is more than this world, wherever your aspirations are, if they're material, it's fine. Be a materialistic person, but understand that the best material lies in the hereafter with Allah, the creator of you and this world. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
That if you want recognition and you aspire to that there is no better recognition than the recognition of Allah, your creator, saying that, you know what, I'm pleased with you, I'm proud of you. But imagine that if that is your state and you get to make it to Jannah, you get to make it to paradise, then you're going to have the prophets and the best people of mankind, not what people themselves, me and you, have aspired to and said, wow, look at that person. The people that Allah Himself defined as, these are the best people that I've ever created, that I've ever seen, to the site that's relevant and appropriate to Allah, that I've ever seen. You're going to have these people speaking to you and be like, you done well. That's really, understanding the best of yourself and seeing the best of yourself. That's really what you should aim for. And if it's a logical thing, bro. I'm not saying, I'm not being forceful about it. That be a Muslim, be a good Muslim. You know what? If you want to attain that, then there's a road to it. And in Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Fatiha, we recite it every single day, X amount of times a day in all of our salawat. And a very core verse in it is Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Guide us towards the straight path. And one of the Prophet ﷺ's most repeated dua is, oh, the controller of hearts, or oh, the turner of hearts, keep my heart steadfast or strong upon your religion. There is one way and one route towards attaining that success, and it's been defined to us in the Quran and Sunnah. Sometimes I stray, I forget where we started.
No, Akhi, it's amazing.
Where did we start, bro?
We started with the Revelation Conference. It's very true. And the Revelation Conference being on the Quran. And bro, on that, you with the kind of all-star lineup that you have at the Revelation Conference, a lot of those shaykh, you actually get the pleasure of spending time with on set for Eman Channel. So we mentioned earlier that you're a presenter, and the main show that you present is called Ask Eman, where people call in and they ask questions. It's not a new phenomenon. It's almost on every Islamic TV channel where people have access to a sheikh, and they can call in and ask for personal fatwa to people who are who kind of have the right to give it, or to explain what the Quran and the Sunnah says about their situation. So I wanted to go into that because you've done how many episodes of Ask Eman?
I have no idea, bro, but it's come up to 3 years in May.
Yeah, so for 3 years you've been doing Ask Eman.
Yeah.
You must have had all types of questions, bro.
Yeah, bro.
So what are some questions that perhaps has a question ever thrown you off completely on live on air?
Yeah, I think at the beginning that happened a lot. Because you're not ready for some personal questions that people may ask.
Sure.
And Islam is such a beautiful religion that it's amazing that it just covers all aspects of life.
It has an answer for everything,
every single level.
Sure.
So you're going to get people who are asking everything and anything. And it's a beautiful thing. I enjoy it. I enjoy the element of it, of showing people and being part of facilitating the idea or the understanding that Islam is here for everyone, for every part of your life and for every aspect of your life. It is a lifestyle. So yeah, in terms of questions throwing me off, at the beginning, there was a few where sometimes when the camera's off you can't, you try your best not to laugh. There's parts where it's like you're so embarrassed, you go red. But eventually I think it's an education for you as well in terms of how to be a representative of Islam. I'm not saying I'm a representative of Islam. I'm just saying on that 45 minutes or an hour when I'm on the camera, I do have to represent Islam.
Of course.
And I have to carry myself with honor, ethics, high morals, high values. I'm not saying it's pretending, but I'm striving to be the best person I can on camera, because in the end I understand this is a serious seat to be in right now. You're receiving, I'm not answering them, but I'm receiving questions on behalf of a sheikh who's going to speak on behalf of the Prophet and Allah alayhi salam. The Prophet alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yeah, I mean, you grow in your understanding, and
I remember we did a version of Ask Eman last year, and it was called Ramadan with Eman with Sheikh Wasim. That was my first experience doing.
You and Musa.
Yeah. That was my first experience doing a Q&A with a sheikh, and something that you were probably very much so used to by then, but I got thrown off, as you did in your early days. On one of the first days that we did it, a sister rang in and she was asking about her menstrual cycle. But the reason it threw me off, bro, is for two reasons. A, I have the sheikh next to me who I very much so respect, and I would feel shy to speak to him about something like that. Not saying that the sister was wrong, because that's what it's for, bro. Like, she's asking about fasting, she's asking about her menstrual cycle, and alhamdulillah, the Eman Channel have created an avenue where brothers and sisters can call in anonymously and ask a student of knowledge who they may not always have access to a question, right? And so there's nothing wrong with what the sister did. However, I've never been around a sheikh or Sheikh Wasim when someone was asked about something that I was like shy to hear about. And then the second thing was that I think when the sister was mentioning it, she was using terminology that was perhaps we're used to in like slang and stuff, but it's probably not the most like scientific terminology. And so, for example, when you are talking to a student of knowledge or a person of knowledge, you have to dance around a subject sometimes, or you have to say something, but not by saying the word that you would say to your friends. Like, even if you're asking about a personal matter, or for example something of sexual nature, and you're speaking about that to the sheikh, you'll probably try your best to use words that are more scientific, or words that allude to what you're trying to say, rather than saying a sharp word or a slang word for example the private parts, right? And so we've had times where people have called in and they've unknowingly, just because it's normal and natural, they've used words that are very sharp and very like vibrant words that perhaps you could use scientific terms for. And those kind of questions really threw me off at the beginning, but slowly you start to realize that people are on different levels of understanding, even not to say that we at all are on a higher level of understanding at all, but even something I learned recently, yesterday, bro, the day before yesterday, was that, the Arabs, they don't speak about their wives. When they speak about their wife, because it's for them, it's like rude or shy to do that. And if they say family instead. So, for example, if they were to say, I'm going home and I'm going to go have dinner with my wife, they would actually say, I'm going to go home and have dinner with my family, even though if everybody who's there knows that the only person you live with is your wife, but I still would say the word family over wife, because it's like that. And bro, that's something I only learned 2 days ago, that it's actually more correct to say family in a polite. It's more polite to say that, right? So I'm definitely not saying that we have more understanding. However, people perhaps use terms that they just are used to using. So that threw me off a lot with Ramadan with Eman. And I imagine that there'll be more questions that I would hear. Am I right in thinking that Ask Eman started a late night version?
Yeah.
Is that correct though? Or is that a joke?
You were leading up to that? Yeah, it started like a late night version, yeah, bro.
Because you know what happened, bro? Someone on the team, I won't say who, but someone on the team told me that they were starting a late night version. I said, I laughed. I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And they're like, no, we've been serious, bro. We started a late night version.
It's been about 4 weeks running.
And so this is pertaining to questions that are like when, like after hours, like
exactly.
Post 9 p.m?
Exactly.
And people can ask questions that are a bit more...
Anything. Yeah. So...
whereas normally your children might be watching, etc.
Exactly.
Sure.
So it's the 4th week running now. It starts at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So it's pretty late. It's just me and Sheikh Wasim. and the idea or the objective is to open up the platform to everyone for anyone to ask embarrassing or sensitive questions that they may feel at the earlier hours that they can't do.
Sure.
It's a time where children are probably sleeping.
Yep.
It's a time where if certain subjects offend you or are too sensitive for your ears, then you're able to just not tune in, because it's not for general. It's for people that are looking to either ask or learn the element of life, the answers to the elements of life which are more private, which may be, and it's not just about that. It's also given a platform and an avenue for people to speak about addictions. We had a brother, may Allah bless him for his courage, to call in the other day, and he said, I drink a lot of the time. So I want to know that when I pray, is my salah valid and accepted? So it's to be able to handle and deal with these type of subjects where, people might feel that there's a bit of sensitivity surrounding certain areas of their life, but to just show them what I value about it most is just the element, the part of showing people that there is a place there's an answer. And Islam covers all aspects and elements of life. If you're brave enough to ask these questions, there's answers there, and Islam doesn't shy away from it.
How has the response been so far for weeks in of having the late night version?
Some people have taken it as one of the general shows, because I think it's not out of the norm that
What did they title it?
Late night. Ask Eman late night. Yeah, so I think some people have taken it as the norm, because there's the Ramadan late one.
Yeah.
So people will be like, it's just on late today, so it's probably more convenient for some people. But I have to keep repeating at every opening and every closing the purpose of the show. And with that, I think it encourages. We got one email which spoke about something extremely sensitive. I can't even talk about it, but it's an area when it comes to. It's an area when it comes to intimacy.
Sure.
So it was very, very sensitive, like so sensitive.
Sure.
One of those things that you'd be so embarrassed about asking. But people were brave enough to send an email about it. Yeah. And we were able to address it on the show. And hats off and respect to the Sheikh, who's ready to just deal with it in the most professional way and just directly deal with it. No sugarcoating, no going around it, actually saying to you, here's the answer Islamically.
Bro, the Sheikh, may Allah bless him, he is very professional in that regard. I love him. Yeah, he's very, very professional. You have to. He's very professional in that regard.
Sheikh Wasim's the man.
He's helped me a lot. Even, alhamdulillah, I have the blessing of being able to speak to him when I need to. And I see that even as such a ni'mah from Allah, like that He has blessed me with that opportunity. And there's been times where I've needed a real quick response to something, and he is very quick to reply. And I'm sure you've been able to speak to him as well in that regard. And again, like you said, very, very professional. Do some people... What's Eman Channel? I think what's amazing about Eman Channel is that they've opened that up, right? I don't think anybody's opened up this like avenue of doing this late night Ask Eman, because it sounds a bit too risky. Yeah. Right? But they've said there's a true issue and we have to address it. And we need more people like that will address things that our shyness and Eman come as one. And it's very important to be shy and have Eman. However, some people literally don't have access to people or information, or the correct people or the correct information according to Quran and Sunnah, and because of that, they're only getting the information that they can, for example, Google, and then basing their decisions off of misleading information that might not be correct. And so to have this segment where people can access Sheikh Wasim and ask him like fiqh questions, etc., but after hours and whatever, and in an anonymous way where they can even email instead of call in, I think is very, very admirable. I have seen, however, I've been, alhamdulillah, around you, because Ask Eman happens just before my show happens on Wednesdays. And so sometimes I catch the end of Ask Eman, and sometimes I even get the opportunity to speak to you in your ear. I'm like, Ebrahim, you have 3 minutes. I always, if you're on air, I always go into the producer's room. I'm like, can I speak to him on mic?
I get the freshly grounded version of the instructions and the earpiece.
Yeah.
Ebrahim, you got 3 minutes. You got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm like 30 seconds, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I like steal the mic I'm like, Ibrahim's on, I'm going to take the mic.
Fun times, man. You know what?
You have me in your ear.
I just want to say before, don't forget your point that you're going to make, because I'm just going to interject.
Okay, wait.
Okay, wait. Yeah, hold it.
I have to remember what it was. I would lost it.
Yeah, what was it? you get to catch me before your show.
Yeah.
And the earpiece thing and the talking.
No, the earpiece thing was going on top of it. It was that I could catch you on the
sorry,
show.
bro. I done it.
Nah, it's not you, bro. I lost it because I started talking about me speaking your ear.
Sorry, bro.
No, it's gone. Oh no, I have it.
Yes,
Should I hold it?
finish
Should
it.
I hold
I'm holding on to
Okay,
mine.
fine.
I've got mine.
So my thing was, no, because it's a bit of a question. It's basically to say that there's been times where the producers have sent you a question that someone has asked on your iPad and you've read it and you've not wanted to ask it, and so I was going to ask about that. So hold that and then tell me what you want to say.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say to you, so maybe I can be a bit of what's the word? Nostalgic person. Maybe nostalgia is the right word.
Okay.
But I have like early nostalgia before something's even happened.
Sure.
I'm sure that it has its own term. But anyway, I really, these memories, bro, these are the things that we're going to remember for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And in the end, you know what? Through the hundreds of episodes and through the hundreds of shows, it's the connections you make with people and the relationships that you have. And these small experiences of banter where you're able to bend the rules become even more special and memorable.
Definitely.
I'm so happy that Eman Channel is ran by a group of people that are flexible about the way they do things and the way they work. And I think whatever your attitude is towards your work is going to reflect at your work and on your work. If you're very professional, very organized, it's going to reflect, which I think Freshly Grounded reflects that. But also if you have humor about your work and you introduce life and excitement, it's going to reflect. There's going to be life about it, even your brand, like Freshly Grounded. Yeah, I think it, just to give you an example. So I think Eman Channel is amazing because you can do that. I think, some of the bosses won't like it if they hear it.
I know. I'm like in the control room taking over the mic.
You can go and take over the mic and be like, Ebrahim, 30 seconds. I do it to Mahmoud, the other presenter. And I say the funniest things in his ear sometimes. Yeah. But sometimes even the guys do it. They say funny things in your ear before you start your show because it gives you a big smile.
Yeah, it's true.
And when you start your show, you have the biggest smile on your face. And people watching probably just think you're the nicest guy, but you've just been told a joke in your earpiece, so you start the show that way.
Sometimes it's so funny because they're counting down. They say, guys, you're on in 5, 4, 3, and sometimes, bro, it's like 3, 2, and you're like the 3-second countdown for you're live on that camera, and like you're doing this stupidest thing. I remember once I was like, they were like, you got 15 seconds. I was like, I haven't got my earpiece. So like, they're like, you're gonna have to go without the earpiece. I'm like, oh my gosh, so it's like 10, 9, 8, and I just did the earpiece. And alhamdulillah, I think Abu Bakr just threw an earpiece in me, and I was like, Assalamu alaikum. So sometimes when the camera goes live, it's a bit of a shame that people don't get to see what happens before because it's chaos.
It's hilarious.
Sometimes even 1 second before, and sometimes I like to worry the producers by being like, they're like 3, 2, and I'm like not even looking at the camera.
I do that.
Like, and they're like 1. I'm like assalamu alaikum.
I do that as well. You know what I do? Like I do this too often now that they never believe me. Yeah. But when the countdown's like 10, 9, I'm like, what do you mean? What's the countdown for? I'm not ready. Seriously, we're going live. We're going. Ebrahim, whatever, man. Just stop it. Carry on with the show. Fun times, man. Yeah. But you were gonna ask,
Okay, so my question was, let me just check them because of Salah. Okay, fine. We'll have to start rounding it up now, but. My question was, which is such a shame, bro, because
we just got started. We just got warmed up.
This is one of those episodes where I feel like we could talk for 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but we'll do it, bro. Sorry, it's my fault.
No, bets. So the question was, when you're doing these shows and you get given questions on the iPad, did you ever see the iPad, by the way, the wallpaper of it when it was me? Someone changed it back.
Really?
Yeah,
it was me for like a year.
Oh, really?
Like me and a few guys. I done it myself. Like.
I took like a really close-up selfie and I left it on the Eman Channel iPad to see how long it would last. It really didn't last.
It did last long.
I think the manager must have come in and be like, what the hell was going on? Okay, so when you have the iPad in your hand, so on Ask Eman, sometimes people call in and ask questions, and sometimes you get questions on the iPad through email or through WhatsApp. And what do you do in a situation where you've seen a question and you just think it's not appropriate right now to ask it? Because as a presenter, you do have to use a lot of hikmah. Sometimes this sheikh is not the right person to ask a specific question to, because not because they don't know the answer, but just because of the nature of the day, how the day is going, or the nature of what they're going through right now, or you can get a vibe for what they do and don't want to answer on the day. So how do you battle that? Because you have to then kind of make up a question off the spot or something.
So you have to do, like, as a just an insight into presenting for everyone. And this very well, brother Faisal, is really you have to take you have to take a lot of control. You know, there's the idea of taking control of your life on a massive scale. But you literally have to take control as a presenter. You have the production team at the back, which are doing probably most of the work. You have the cameras on, you have the sheikh sitting there. But as the presenter, you are the one controlling the pace of the show. You're controlling the vibe and the mood of the show. You're fully in control, or should fully be taking control. Because if you drop any control, the show is going to kind of fall on its head. So when questions come in that you feel aren't suiting the vibe or the mood right now, you do have to leave them till a bit later or to another show. If you feel like that, you have to accommodate for the sheikh. Sometimes the sheikh's tired, has had a long day, and sometimes the shuyukh are giving you the answers, but they're giving very short answers and they're not going into them too much. So you're getting through loads of questions in a few minutes, and I say, oh my God, I'm running out of questions. What am I going to do? So the approach I take is thinking about the viewers and thinking what's best for them and what brings most value to them. Sometimes me and the sheikh may just go into a discussion to elaborate on a specific point, and it's very educational. So we may spend the whole show just doing that. Some shows we may spend going through loads and loads and loads of fiqh questions. And I also like the flexibility that Ask Eman gives to be able to have the dynamics of the show that way. That the show sometimes can be a very just educational show. That can just be like a long khutbah or a reminder, a sermon. Or it could be a show where it's just you're going through a lot of fiqh questions where, how do I do this? What do I do in this situation? What if this? What if that?
Do you when it was Ramadan time, did you have to try and avoid the Ramadan questions? Because I imagine naturally you would get a lot of questions about Ramadan, but then we had to answer it. Because I think the Sheikh did Ask Eman with you guys, and straight after the Ramadan Eman with us. Yeah. And Ramadan with Eman was focused on asking questions about Ramadan. So did you have to avoid that?
Yeah, you have to avoid the Ramadan questions. You have to leave them for the team that are coming later to actually address the topic. Otherwise, you're leaving them with no ammunition for the show.
And they were like, "Assalamu alaikum, guys, welcome to the show."
We just repeat the same questions again. But I think Eman Channel's got such a good viewership now. Yeah. You know, I'd like to just just obviously take the moment to just say Eman Channel's an amazing organization. It's 3 years young, and you know what? It's done well for the 3 years. You've been
since the beginning.
Yeah, May. It started May 2016. Now
you're always doing Ask Eman?
Yeah, from the second ever show. The first ever show was a good, amazing brother who's got a lot of experience. He presented on other channels, but the second ever show I done it, Hisham Bella.
Okay, because
good guy, mashallah.
Anis did a show.
Anis done a show, in the first year or second year, mashallah. Anis, amazing guy, kind of works on youth projects alongside Omar. Good guys, man, good guys. Yeah. How's it going, bro? How you feeling?
Amazing. What, Eman Channel?
No, you just generally, bro.
Alhamdulillah, bro. Very well.
I'm very sad because it looks like we're ending right now.
We have to end.
Let's just keep going, bro.
Bro, it's Jummah.
No, bro. Don't do it. Faisal, don't do it.
I could talk to you for days, bro.
Let's do it, bro.
Sometimes you have to...
We didn't speak about coffee. We didn't speak about sport. Right. We didn't speak about... Nothing. What did we actually speak about?
We spoke about charities.
You mean that session, that grueling session you gave me at the beginning?
That was just like the intro. Now I feel like we can talk about all the relaxed things.
I know, right? Let me gruel him first. I've had these on standby.
Yes, now, but I'm glad we got to talk about some of the fun stuff that we've been able to do together with Eman Channel and stuff like that. And I think that every now and again, or depending on the circle that you're in, quite often you get. It's a true blessing that you get to meet brothers who you just feel like you instantly click with, and someone who you can crack jokes with without, and it belly laughs. They're not like awkward little jokes that you have to say to socialize, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Just little jokes. The actual icebreakers, exactly. The actual jokes that genuinely you end up having belly laughs with that person. And I haven't known you for a long time, Ebrahim. We met maybe a few months ago, and alhamdulillah, we end up seeing each other every week as our shows overlap. Like you're finishing your show while I'm starting mine, and I really look forward to those times, man. Like I look forward to coming in on a Wednesday and seeing you and just having a brief chat with you, and sometimes you even join me on mine. And it means well, man. And we really do have a good time. We really do have a laugh. And so I wanted to have you on Freshly Grounded for that reason too. But also, man, we should kick it more often, man.
Sure. Let's do it, bro. I'm happy, man. There's if you can be in a position where you can bring value to humanity. This is my own philosophy when it comes to being put on a platform or a stage. And it'll probably give an insight in terms of my way of thinking and how I think, what I project on myself. So this isn't something I'm projecting outwardly to people. This is something I project on myself. And I give a lot of value to being given a platform, whether I'm freshly grounded or anywhere else. And really, I go by that. If Allah's put you on a platform, then it's going to do two things for you. You're either going to get up there for the right reasons, say the right things, and you're going to be honored by Allah, or you're going to get up there for the wrong reasons with the ill intentions and maybe of risk of being dishonored by Allah. Because a platform is for you or against you. And in the end, you could get up there and look completely stupid and like an absolute clown, and you think, oh, I was just on a camera. I was, wow, look, because this image of fame is being promoted to us so much that if you're on that platform, you mean something.
Sure.
But might get up there, and how many people have we seen where there's little clips of them and stuff, and it's a negative and bad thing completely. Or you get up there with the right intention and bring value to humanity. And I think any value I can bring to people, whether it's from my own experiences or generally just from where I sit, where certain intentions sit in my heart and how they translate into actions, and those are bringing good to people, or how others can do the same, then I'm all for that. Because I think we live in a very confused age, and we live in an age where everything is trying to buy your heart and your commitment and your loyalty to it. Whether it be a product, whether it be a way of life. And it's important to know that that's all okay to as gain into your life and to take it on, whether it be a pair of AirPods, a pair of trainers, a way of life where you're probably even listening to music and you're living a type of life. But don't forget that the loyalty and the only one that has the right over your heart and the loyalty of it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created you. So that should always be your direction in life. You could be in the slums or in the gutter when it comes to the way you live your life and your lifestyle, and you want to come out of it. But you should always have that direction that in the end, I want to reach Allah and I want to reach Him while He's pleased with me. In the end, that's going to give you some direction, and your compass is going to be set in the right direction. And somehow, some way, Allah is going to help you out of it and help you get there. Even if it's tomorrow, 10 years, 20 years, or even in the state you die in, Allah will lead you out of His generosity and His mercy to reach Him in a state where you're not on bad terms.
SubhanAllah. Barakallahu feek, Ebrahim. Jazakallahu khair for coming down.
Bro.
Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence, and you've dropped some amazing gems. And alhamdulillah, we are now going to go to Jumu'ah together.
Yes, bro.
Yeah, inshallah.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you off to work after?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So we got some time. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah,
brothers and sisters, this was episode 95 of Freshly Grounded, just 5 episodes away from the 100th. Thanks so much for listening. He was Ebrahim Ettoubi. I was Faisal Ettoubi. How do you pronounce it?
Ettoubi. Yeah, Ettoubi.
Moroccan, right?
Yeah, in Arabic it's Attoubi.
Ebrahim Ettoubi.
There you go.
I was Faisal
Chowdhury.
Chaudhry.
Nice one.
And we're out.